they're dead. They're all messed up. All messed up.
You wouldn't give her that flower, would you?
One of us, one of us, one of
No.
us.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
A zombie movie with reanimated Nazis.
Oh,
And then how the
when
hell
it came
did
out,
John
it was
find it?
huge. Like, it was in the horror community. There's a Nazi zombie movie coming. Here's a Nazi zombie movie coming, and everybody like looked for it. I didn't. It found me. Yeah.
It found you? Nice. All right, well, this is Xenomania, the second episode. We're talking about Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, which apparently hunted down our friend John over here. Kearns. There's the notable and wonderful John, and we've got the knowledgeable and quite adorable Ryan with us too.
I'm great.
How you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. I'm excited to talk
Nice.
about Dead Snow, and I'm happy that as you found this movie up in the Norwegian Alps, I mean, I'm happy that you survived. Hopefully you brought some of that gold down from the mountains as well, as shown in the movie.
Is that what they were looking for up
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
In the first one, yes.
Oh, and then the first one?
Nazis want their
mean-
gold back. And skiers accidentally have stumbled upon it.
And we know it's not
Mhm.
Nazi
It's
gold.
stolen
We know what kind
Norwegian
of
gold.
it is.
Yep.
Oh, it's stolen from the Norwegians, right? Known for their gold. Nice little workaround there. Oh man. But yeah, what a trip it was. So I'd never seen Dead Snow, never heard of Dead Snow until John said, "Let's watch Dead Snow." It wasn't too tough to find it. It's on YouTube for
Yeah.
starters. You can get Dead Snow 2 is definitely
Yes.
everywhere. You can find that super easy. It's streaming free everywhere too. YouTube Premium, Amazon Prime. Dead Snow 1, there was shady copies up on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And I think it's on Shudder.
So I couldn't find it on Shudder.
well?
I actually had to
Okay.
rent it from Amazon on that when I was looking for it, just to give a heads up on that one. I think it's in Shudder through the European market, not the American market, which I've noticed they've done that recently with certain select titles.
Okay. And who do you think the 14 cents from that rental is going to as far as the maker of the film? Which person's got
Hopefully
the
it's
royalties?
I'm hoping
for
we're
these
Cola.
rights?
Yeah.
Eh,
Or cola.
Who's Tommy?
Yeah.
Does he have a
I'm
last name?
so happy I said that
Oh,
name right,
Ricola?
because I was
There you
like,
go.
oh crap, I said that name totally wrong. I butchered it.
I spent like a good 15 minutes looking through interviews to try to see the pronunciation of his name, just to make sure not Tommy Verkola or Tommy Verkola or
Once it gets into the Norwegian countries
yes.
and things like that too, is he Norwegian? Like the Vanderslis or Slokens and Snorks and stuff. I mean, not to disparage you, Vikings. I'm part Danish myself, but wow, your names are super tough. If you get into Iceland, it's a wrap. So we all watched it.
So
Every
I'll be
one of
honest,
us.
I've
I
heard of
watched
this
it for the
film
first
since
time.
2009, senior year of high school, or a part of television radio production. My friends kept talking about it, and I kept hearing about it and hearing about it. And I was really stuck on the old George A. Romero films, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. So I had my flag up like, no, these are the best. I'm not seeing it. With this, it allowed me to see this movie, of course, and I loved it. It gave me a lot of Evil Dead vibes, being a big fan of that. The first one, how it runs, and then how the second one runs, they correspond well with one another, especially with a lot of the comedy and the horror that's in it.
So it's good that you bring up the Evil Dead, because in the interviews of Tommy Wirkola that I went through, one of the things he points out is how much of an influence the Evil Dead movies and Sam Raimi are to him.
I could see it. Watching Evil Dead 1 and 2 is a rite of passage growing up. But the difference between Evil Dead 1 and 2 is pretty stark. Like, they ramp things up quite a bit in the second one. Although the first one's got some stuff.
Well,
There's some, I'm thinking of tree vines, for example. But the second one's, it's campier, it's a little bit more fast paced. And that definitely happens with Dead Snow too. The amount of action and how hilarious they lean into the
Yeah.
comic relief in the second one so hard too. It's so I'm thinking of the scene where the lady from the wheelchair she gets stomped out by a zombie Nazi. Like stuff like that in this movie. I was like, oh my God, you can't do that. It was so good. And it did remind me a lot. It's
I
spiritually
just jumped
very
to poor
similar to Evil
Bobby.
Dead.
I mean, there's a scene in the hospital where this kid just his name's Bobby, he's just taking pictures. And this is in Dead Snow too. He's taking pictures of the arm and like he lets him go. He's like, I'm gonna help you all this. And he's just standing there and the zombie arm just smacks this kid and the kid goes flying out the window and he's laying on the ground lifeless. Martin, actually funny enough, the main character, Martin, he runs out the window, tries to help him. The arm's so strong, he doesn't know how to control it. He collapses the kid's chest, and you're watching this, and you're like, "Holy shit, this is hilarious." But this is horrible at the same time. But that's the
They
classic horror comedy right there.
It is they kill so many kids though. Like the amount of dead
The
kids in
tank
this
scene,
movie is pretty
the
high.
the
It's more
kids are
than
like,
one
"Look at
hand.
the tank,"
Yeah, the
and it's just
tank.
like, it's like, "Oh my god." There goes the sandcastles.
Kadoosh. Right. That was brutal. So, all right. So, for the fans, the people listening, if you have seen Dead Snow 2, great. If you haven't, John Orion's going to give you kind of a breakdown, a synopsis breakdown, a little bit of what these movies are and sort of what to expect. Why don't you let people know what this is looking like? Because we're sort of just giving
So Dead
snippets
Snow
now.
1 is much smaller scale. You have a group of 8 supposedly going on a ski trip together. One of them is going to meet them there. Obviously, she never does. They accidentally stumble on some Nazi gold that was stolen from a town in Norway. And the Nazis are drawn to their gold. They rise from their snowy tombs and attack the snowboarder skiers.
This is the only reason we will leave our tombs is
That
to
we
find
stole
our Nazi
anyway.
gold.
The background music too is awesome, and that the soundtrack is
Well, yeah.
awesome in that whole exact.
It's all free use, so it's like Beethoven. I
Yes.
thought it was in the Hall of the Mountain King, but Ode to Joy is in the first one. Well, that's Beethoven. But there's the yeah, that's the one. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh, okay, they had no money. I get it. But it's just hilarious to
It
see
matches
these
up
scenes set to
perfectly.
that music.
I wanna say, isn't that's
That
in
kind
the
of thing.
first
I
part, I
was like,
think,
wow.
with you talking about how it opens with Sarah, the character Sarah, she
Yeah.
gets chased. That's I don't know, for
Yeah.
2009, that is such a good opening, and it's different because it just rocks right into you into the horror aspect. Because it's like you don't know what the hell's going on, and it slowly builds up
Yeah.
with the comedy and stuff, the simple tropes. But I do like it that they are looking for gold. Like, they have something that they're looking for. It's not, like, all about brains, and that's what makes it unique and different besides them being Nazis as well as they're actually calculating too, if you when you watch it.
Yeah.
Like, the hiker scene,
Yeah.
they slit his throat, man. Like, he's like, you're on the edge of your seat ready to jump, and there's a zombie, and it's one quick swipe, and you see the neck blow up, and it's classic horror.
It's tough to kick out the Nazi in you even after death,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
They like to slit some throats, those Nazis. But, there's very good people on both sides. So the hikers
Yeah.
probably had
They're
it coming.
simple medical
That's all I'm gonna
students
say.
looking for a good time. They just needed a break.
Can I tell you, one of the funniest parts of the first one is the fact that Martin is a medical student who's afraid of blood.
Yes.
So when Hannah
That is
cuts
a
her
good point.
finger, he's so
That is a good point.
clearly disgusted by the blood. It's such a good job of acting in that part too.
They go hard with the acting in the first one. They're trying their best. You can tell. It's not overacting. I don't want to put that out there. For what the movie is, they're putting together a great performance with regard to how they react, their visceral reactions to when people get destroyed by zombies or when they lose body parts
I mean,
to
the scene
zombies. It's
where
really
the
good.
Erland scene, which is right before the live scene. Well, the Erland scene, it's insane when they pop their fingers right into his skull and
Mhm.
just pop his skull open. I saw that. Holy shit. This is the best graphics in this movie so far, because you just see the brain pop, you see the skull pop, but the scene with Liv got me because I hate the whole thing with scalping. I get skeeved out by that, and I knew it's an IFC film. I saw
Yeah.
their version of Maniac. There is scalping in an IFC film always. I guaranteed. Even the what do you call it? The Butcher movie in the subway. Skipping on the name with Vinnie Jones and Bradley
Night
Cooper.
Meat Train.
It's based on a Clive Barker. Yes, based on a Clive Barker Midnight Meat Train.
Night
Yeah.
Meat Train. Midnight Meat Train, episode 14,
Best
everybody.
part.
Midnight Meat Train is coming.
And
Bradley
he's a
Cooper.
photographer.
You sold me at
Just
Bradley
throwing
Cooper.
it out there.
I'd scalp him any day. Oh, even better. Even better. Even better. You know what's going to be good? Actually, I'm going to make Ryan come when they finally make Blood Meridian into a film. The late, great Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is my favorite book. The amount of scalping that takes place in that from the Comanche is out of control. I'd say 2/3 of the characters in that, both large and small, get scalped at some point. So Ryan, I'm going to
I'll
make
watch
you come
it.
to the movie
I'm
with
down
me.
for
We're
it.
gonna
It's
watch
just
that in
rough
IMAX.
because it's like it's fake, but then you see the peel, and then like everything's just like yeah. That was my. We should cover Maniac one day, the original and the remake. That's
Absolutely.
Degloving in general, which is what scalping kind of is, degloving the top of your head. But degloving is when the skin is peeled off in a grotesque fashion from your body part. That haunts
that
me.
happened in. I
So
called it
yeah,
too.
I
And
get
it
it.
happened in the second film. I'm not gonna. It just it was quick. I was able to be like, okay, just right off like a Band-Aid. But when I see that
Literally.
scene with Liv, because you hear the hair ripping, it's like her reaction, and you hear everyone. You feel like the tensity,
Yeah.
and you feel like, as a viewer, you feel the anxiety. Like, oh shit, I feel like I'm a part of them. Like, what are we gonna do? And then you're like, oh wait, I'm safe at home, drinking my seltzer or my water, watching this. All right, we're in the clear. But shit, I feel what they're going through.
It's good stuff. My favorite parts have to be when we're down to like the last two heroes in the first film. Before we get into the second one, which has a crazy twist. Well, I think of it as a twist anyway. But at the end of so you've got the last stand, which is it's the hammer and sickle, right? And then the chainsaw against a small squadron of zombie Nazis, I'd say. And they go full John Wick. That's about the skinny of it. It's pure macabre melee goodness. Just
I'm happy
blood
they were good at
splatter
melee
everywhere.
because after Roy threw that Molotov cocktail, I got really worried. I got it, and it's just okay. And he was better with the melee weapons, of course, as we saw.
Yeah. Well, he didn't make it through that
Oh, he
scene,
did.
if I remember
Hannah
correctly.
did not. That was a shocker. I'm just gonna say that.
They're
Yeah, Roy and Martin are, and then we get bit.
Martin gets his arm bit. You know, in typical more recent zombie movie fashion, it's we have to stop the infection. We're cutting it off. So he gets the arm cut off and almost immediately
Right.
gets bit somewhere else. And you know he's not cutting that off.
His facial reaction to it is priceless too, because you're like, "Oh, is this happening?" And he's just looking up, and he's like, "No, I'm not cutting this off. We'll just leave it alone. We'll leave it alone right now."
Now, speaking of Evil Dead from earlier, I was expecting the arm to reanimate
Yes.
and attack him.
I could see where you get that expectation from. It's definitely, and the arm definitely takes on a life of its own in the second one.
Well, all right. So the first one ends with him making it through. He loses an arm, but the second one John's referencing, he sews on. So the second movie, the Nazi zombies have not been vanquished. They're back with a vengeance, and he becomes like uber badass because now he's got a whole movie's worth of knowledge about them. So he's the guy. He's the Van Helsing of this. If you remember last episode, me making fun of Van Helsing, or not Van Helsing, but the guy from Nosferatu. But yeah, so he ends up getting one of the zombie arms, and he grafts that onto his own stump. So now he's got an uber strong zombie arm. But that's not the coolest part of the second movie. The coolest part of the second movie is where they recruit their help from
Yes.
to fight the zombies.
Yes. I mean, it's in the title. Dead Snow 2 Red versus Dead. And the red is a reference to a platoon
Yeah.
of Soviet soldiers massacred by the Nazis.
They reanimate a bunch of dead Soviet soldiers to fight the dead Nazi soldiers. And it's exactly what you want it to be for it's got to be 40 minutes of just
Yep. And
just
Martin
pure
gets help
bloodshed.
from the zombie squad, who, when they're introduced, do you have any belief that the zombie squad is going to have any clue how to do anything?
No. They're just like the ghost squads and stuff. You think
And
they're
then it turns out they
charlatans.
kind of do.
Well, they lean heavily into their like it's super campy. And
Mhm.
they lean into that super hard, those actors, the American actors. They're very much so like making fun of themselves, or at least their character types. And when they're
Yeah.
suiting up and things like that, trying to look all badass, like that's cool. And Brian and I, before we started recording, we're talking about there's like a solid A-list actor, a Seth Rogenite in this film.
Martin Starr, he is the leader of the zombie squad group, as they're called in the film, which he was in Knocked Up. He's the gentleman. If you ever see Knocked Up, he grows the beard for the year. He was also in The Incredible Hulk and all of the recent Spider-Man films. His evolution's funny as he becomes like an intern, he becomes a professor and a high school teacher throughout the films. It was a nice little, I had to actually, like, when I saw that part of the film and saw him, I was like, wait a minute, there's no way he's in this film. I was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right, there we go. Doing a little thing. And he played it perfectly. I did like his role. One of his sisters, though, she kept cracking me up because she kept making Star Wars references.
Uh-huh.
And they were just like, just stop. Just
Mhm.
stop. It's the ending when she's like, may the force be with you. And they're like,
Yeah.
that's the best one. That's the best line you could have came up with.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
that
mean, I think she just went there for the trip.
Mhm. So that guy, the head of the zombie squad guy, was also in one of my new favorite Christmas movies called There's Something in the Barn, which is it's also set in Norway, and the
Oh,
something
nice.
in the barn is a barn gnome or barn elf. And it's not an elf.
They don't tend to be. People forget. So the Germanic traditions, I'm going to go full nerd here, guys. The Germanic traditions invented elves, made popular by Tolkien afterward. I wouldn't say stolen. He didn't steal anything, but he took a lot of their lore, interwoven into the Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, Hobbit universe. And that's how we became aware of it. But elves were not welcome by these people. They were not good to have around. They screwed stuff up, and they're also not like cute little people all the time either. They can often be like actual ghoulish, scary, terrifying spirit entities and things like that. So I don't want an elf in my barn. I don't want an elf on my
No,
shelf.
no.
That's for true.
This family comes
Whatsoever. So
into a
this
house
movie's
in, I believe it's also Norway, and the barn that comes with the house is inhabited by a barn elf, and the youngest child tries to befriend the elf,
Um,
but that doesn't really go particularly well, as you could
I want to
imagine.
say I've seen the,
I watched one somewhat recently with an Airbnb style setup, and the family's at this Airbnb. I think they're American, and it's, 2 kids, parental folk, and they're not
Mhm.
supposed to talk to the neighbors. It's part of the contract, and it's because the neighbors are elves, and they get pissed off, and I think one of the kids ends up getting kidnapped, and that's, like, the end of the movie. It's really good. I gotta figure out what the hell it was called. Well, I need to see
I
more
was
movies out of that
actually sounds like
area
a
of the
really good
world.
plot.
I bet you have a few
Troll
more. What
Hunter,
about
yeah.
Trolls? Troll Hunter, rather. That was probably one of the best examples in recent memory. I mean, recent memory, how
15
old
or
is
so
that
years.
movie
Late
now?
80s,
No,
90s.
Yeah, it's probably no, it's
Well-
somewhat new. It's Troll not I think you're thinking
Yes.
of a
Mhm.
troll like the little guy
That's-
who that was
Sweet.
old school late 80s. That's a different vibe
Yeah.
altogether. Troll Hunter was a good movie. It felt like you were watching a pure Hollywood sort of blockbuster style film. And it ends well
That
too.
movies.
It goes hard.
That
through
guy's
the
made a
ending,
few,
and there's
so
big trolls.
don't ask me to pronounce his name because it not only is it Scandinavian, it's got letters with slashes through it, and I don't know how to pronounce that. But of Jane Doe also, which is stellar.
Okay.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
Same
Yeah,
dude.
that's a great. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah.
That movie scared the absolute crap out of me. I remember Troll Hunter came out around the same time that Monsters came out, which was somewhat indie feeling in its. I don't know if it was indie, but it felt indie, and that was another fantastic movie that was sort of not underappreciated, but like it was exciting to see these newer movies coming out. And then I guess the Southern Reach trilogy books dropped the movie where she goes into a bubble around an area and it's its own ecosystem. It was it's a completely forgettable movie. The books are very
not
good.
Divergent. I might be thinking of something.
Annihilation.
That was like the end of those good movies, those good indie-ish kind of movies. But yeah, you
No,
saw
I did it.
Monsters, right,
I did
Brian?
not. Actually,
That's the one. That's the one where it's like an allegory for the immigration issues we've been having for some time in Mexico and the United States. A meteorite drops and gives rise to monsters, like giant squid-like Cthulhu-esque monsters in Mexico, and they cordon off a contamination zone. And like a guy gets hired to go down there and bring some guy's daughter back, a rich dude. But there's a giant wall that was built, but like a real one, like a big ass wall, like Jurassic Park style wall. And he's got to get her back and through that wall and then into the U.S. And I think the movie ends with them in El Paso, and there's two squids at the 7-Eleven walking by.
yes, I have seen
That's
that.
the end of the movie.
I remember the ending with the squids walking out, and they're just. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
that
good
was a
movies
good
that a lot
movie.
of people don't talk about nowadays in that realm, and it's slowly coming back, surely but ever. I mean, when they do Dead Snow 3 in this type of realm, it's going to bring more attention back to that style. I think it is slowly but surely, but it's all mostly out in Europe, though.
I mean, that's where they have the time and wherewithal and the funding to make these movies, because nobody here wants to take a risk. In this climate of streaming and stuff like that, it's tricky. You would think we would get better content and more of it, but it's
You got
throttling
the fairy
creativity
tale
a little bit
monster
right
thing
now, and
going
it kind
on.
of
I
sucks.
think it's the fairy tale monsters, what they're calling it, with the Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh 2, the Blood and Honey. They're coming out with Peter Pan, Bambi. I get it's like redoing classic like kids' tales for the modern horror era, but it's given that modern horror edge to it with that B movie flair.
Yeah.
They had the Grinch one too.
Yeah,
The mean one, I think,
The
right?
mean one was okay. The Winnie the Pooh one was bad. Bad. Like it wasn't even fun. If you're gonna do something like that, it's gotta at least be fun.
it's everything that's coming out free use, Ryan, where the copyrights run out. That's what they're scooping up and making the movies out of. Yeah, I'm with John though. Make them well, make it good at least.
Yeah.
Or lean into making them
The
bad.
Peter Pan
Don't try
one
to be
looks
in
good.
between
That
the
one
two.
looks decent. The Pinocchio one, they got the guy who created Chucky from the first Child's Play to create that Pinocchio. So it does have that early Chucky look from 1988. So that's going to be, I think, creepy in the realm of the B movie to A movie. I mean, at least they're trying. I can say that, and they're here in the States, which
Yeah.
is unique because usually it's a copy of something, and yeah, it's a copy, but it's that B movie homage, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I need something original. I mean, looks original, so shut that out real quick.
I don't know. I'm worried about the future of. Well, I guess we've all kind of gotten zombied out. So I'm wondering what the future zombie films are going to look like. Like Dead Snow 3, we know what to expect there. But as far as blockbuster style ones, like World War Z and they sort of drove everything into the ground. So I'm hoping for the same thing that John's hoping for. And that's going to be that we see the traditional zombie
So
movies
I
come
would like
back.
to see them redo World War Z, but not as a movie. If you've read the book, it's perfect for one of those short max type series, like an 8 to 10 episode TV series. And
Yeah.
it would be perfect for that.
Well, why didn't they do that? Right? We just saw it Secret Level. We've got Love, Death, and Robots and stuff like that. Make an animated version with 16 episodes, 25 to 40-minute
I
episodes,
think
and just
when they made
do
the
it
World
right.
War Z movie, it was just that slight bit ahead of Max and all and the short series stuff.
They had Brad Pitt on it, so I mean, I think Brad Pitt really loved the story. So of course they were gonna try to make the money out of it. But I do agree with John. They should have kitty. They should have it as a TV show, and as they do with Secret Level and Love, Death, and Robots, it would work in that universe.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd just be easy to do. CGI style. If you wanted to actually do animated episodes, North American Lake Monsters is the short story collection by Nate Bollingrud that was turned into the Hulu short series. It's got a Black Mirror quality, but it leans further into horror than Black
Mhm.
Mirror does. Well, it doesn't lean, it is horror, and that would work well too, a 20-minute, 30-minute episode style thing. For those of people who haven't read World War Z, it's episodic. They're snippet stories of what's going on during the zombie outbreak. So, like the Battle of Yonkers scene, imagine what it would be like to live in the suburbs of New York City when all the zombies are rushing out of the city into the burbs. So the government makes a last stand in Yonkers, which, would be for those of us who are local
Yep.
to the area, Yonkers would be where I would definitely set up my last stand. But it's episodic. There are snippets of the tale. It's not told in a
Absolutely.
linear way. Slow zombies again.
We need slow
I know we have
zombies. Slow zombies
Yeah,
are
I know you do
scarier.
too. But we
Mhm.
need somebody who's smart enough to
So
make
we're
them
getting
work.
at least
They are
one
scarier.
George Romero based zombie movie in the next year or so. Yeah, and they've taken some of his unfinished stuff
Really?
and finished it. So they did that
Mm.
with a couple books he had started. The Living Dead, which he did with ended up being finished by this guy named Daniel Kraus. Really good. I don't think it was necessarily critically well acclaimed, but it's really good because it's this base mindless killing
Yeah.
machine into something that starts to think and act as like a group. And
A
and
hive mind.
then the
Yeah.
the book takes it to the level where they're just basically full on communicating. And like it's a much scarier vision at that point.
Well, there's two things I can think of that took that idea and ran with it. Cell, Stephen King's Cell, the people or it's not necessarily zombies. They get you brainwashed, whatever, taken over
Mhm.
by the phone signal. But they start out as rampaging psychopaths, and then they all become coalesced into
Yep.
one working unit. And I Am Legend. People who saw the movie don't realize this, but in I Am Legend, what are they called?
The Night
Night
the Night
Night
Stalkers, I think,
Stalkers or
yes.
something like that.
Yep.
Night Stalkers. They're communicating and have their own society and stuff now and feelings, and they they care about each other, which is super bizarre
Yeah.
at that point. So yeah, that idea, it's definitely something that people have taken and gone with, but I guess a lot of people out there probably don't know that that's original to the first series, the George A. Romero Night of the
Yeah.
Living
It
Yeah.
Dead
makes me wonder how
evolution
long he's
of
had that
zombie.
idea for. Like, was he evolving it over time? He did Night of the Living Dead, he did Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Was it something he had, like, developed already, or was he developing it over time, I wonder?
It seems like he sort of always had that plan. Like night, they're just, random sort of violent people killers. And then dawn, they get a little more involved. They
Mm,
start to have memories and things. Like that's a big part of the block to them all is the memory of what they did when they were alive. And then day, you get the next evolution, which is sort of brought on by science and Dr. Frankenstein experimenting with Bub, trying to humanize. And then he goes, and then there's land, and now you have the like, yeah.
That's where the horde sort of changes. It shifts a little bit. But see, the horde aspect is what I like about Night of the Living Dead. It's what made it scary to me as a kid was the creeping aspect. There's 3, now there's 13, now there's 30, now there's 300. And you
Yep.
can handle it, you can handle it, you can handle it, you can't handle it. You can't handle it. And that's what made that movie so scary.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
the keys for the pump. Like, there's so many
Mhm.
missteps and they earn their deaths in that very well, but, like, one of the endings for that I never saw this ending, but my Uncle Billy told me that there's an ending to Night of the Living Dead where they're all
Hmm.
walking across the
I don't think
Brooklyn
I've ever
Bridge.
seen that ending either. He might be thinking of
Maybe he's thinking of a different movie.
yeah, he might also be
Apparently, there's
thinking of
2 or 3.
Zombie 2, because I'm pretty sure that's the end of Zombie 2. Yeah. That's one we should do someday too.
Oh, definitely.
I'm down. I liked Dead Snow, but Dead Snow 2, that's fast zombies. But it's
Yes.
fast
Yeah.
zombies with a
Yes.
good gimmick, so it gets a pass. It gets a pass for sure. But I do prefer Team Slow Zombie. I like my slow zombies. One of the scariest short stories I ever read. Actually, I don't even know if there's slow zombies in the short story, but it's the perspective of a mother in the suburbs, and the zombie outbreak occurs, and it's what would probably happen to a small
Mhm.
family in the suburbs should that occur. It's brutal. It's a brutal story. Like you put it down, you're like, now I have to go to bed. That was awful. It's brutal. So I just find slow zombies to be so much scarier. The fast zombies to me, 28 Days Later reference again and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's more actiony, and that's why
Yeah.
Brad Pitt signed up for World War Z, fast zombies, so
Yeah.
he could run from zombies,
I mean, the thing
and
about
they would
fast
run
zombies
at
for me
him.
is I'm not gonna outrun them. They're gonna get me, and it's not gonna be that scary. I'm gonna run for 20 feet, and I'm gonna be dead. The slow zombie yeah, yeah. The
That's
the
Zombieland. Or do
the
you?
slow zombies,
Double tap.
you have this expectation in your mind, "Oh, they're slow. I can get away from them. I can." They just keep coming. They don't stop, and then
Yes.
you don't
It's the best part too. It's the tortoise and the hare. It's no matter what, they're going
Mhm.
to amble their way to you have to sleep, you have to find food, you can't just run the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. That's what makes it more fun for me. There's an ambiguous aspect to it. Fast zombies, it's just too quick. They're overwhelming predators, you're dead. It'd be like it's Siberian tigers. Like, let's drop 2.5 million Siberian tigers on the United States, and it's gonna be the same
It doesn't
result
make it scary. It doesn't make it
as
scary. It
fast
just loses
zombies.
all the appeal. And I'm
Right.
probably gonna get backlash on this, but curse Zack Snyder for bringing the running zombie in Dawn of the Dead, a movie that should never have been remade. I get it. It's good for him. If it was a different title, cool. But I'm not starting on that rant. But damn it for the fast zombie, because they're moving slow. You shoot one in the damn head. It's like, all right, I made it, and then you look back and there's like a whole group, and they're
Mhm.
just slowly moving. Yeah,
They're drawn
And it's
to the
also
sound too. So you know, it's pretty quiet place. Don't
the
make
cla
noise or they're going to find
right, and that's another thing I like about it,
Mhm.
the Anne Frank aspect of all of that, where it's
Mhm.
like I mean, it all comes from somewhere, guys. Like, hiding in the closet
Mhm.
and waiting for
Mhm.
them to kick in the door when you fart or something like that. That's the way it goes, and there's always gonna be somebody with a baby, and you feel like you gotta help them, and the baby cries, and the zombies kill you. That's kind of the way it goes. But the slow zombie death occurred when Americans at large got semi-automatic weapons in their houses. The whole slow zombie thing got ruined because it's one doomsday prepper
Mhm.
to take out how many zombies when you think about it. So that's why people aren't
I'll
making
throw
slow
this out there.
zombie
The
movies
Walking Dead,
anymore.
for as long as it's on, as it's been on for 11 seasons, the spin-offs, all that. I'll say I stopped at season 9. They had the slow zombie, and I think as the show progressed, they evolved slowly, and they had all the technology and stuff, but they made it work because everything kind of crashed down, right? Society crashed down. There's no saving. And that's kind of like I would say the reality of it in a zombie apocalypse is that, shit's done. And in Land of the Dead, it's that same reference because I've never seen Land of the Dead, but they're caged off, right? The zombies are on one other side of the cage and then they're like supposedly protected. Like, okay, so that's the best they can do. And that's what they eventually do in The Walking Dead. So I don't know. I feel like
Mhm.
The prison
Yeah.
kind of does that. Yeah. Well, I left The
okay.
Walking Dead at the Whispers. Post Rick death Whispers, I think, is
Oh,
like
I
right
think you
around where
both
I
made it
I
dunked
just
out.
saw
further
It
in.
just
Negan
got
throw
bad.
that bat.
I didn't even get to him. I had tapped out before him. Before Negan. I didn't even make it that far.
No, Negan. Well, it was super repetitive before Negan. When the maker, I forget his name, said that he could do the same thing for
Mhm.
20 more seasons and people would still watch.
Mhm.
It's like it's that level of arrogance that's going to destroy
And
you. And he was done
Romero
after another season.
recognized that The Walking Dead was actually bad for the zombie movie he wanted to make. Because after The Walking Dead, they started throwing bigger budgets at him and said, oh, we'll give you $40-50 million to make this zombie movie. He didn't want to make it that way. He wanted to make it on a small budget the way he'd always done it. And it just wasn't available for him to do it.
It's crazy when you hear a
Right,
director
right.
say no to more money for their film.
Mhm.
And
That's a
yes,
person with integrity, dude.
George A.
love
Romero
it.
was one of the greatest overall horror directors from overall, like not even a generation, just overall
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the greatest because of that integrity and just his mindset. There's so many undertones. We can get in. We're not going to get into it tonight, but there's so many undertones in each of his films that you're like, oh my god, like it's more than a horror film. This
Mhm.
is what the message he's delivering.
Yeah.
The man was smart.
Yeah.
And, it's sad that a lot of people are noticing it now more than ever, but that's where it is. It's all an homage. Going back to
Yeah.
Tango, but
Well, eventually Romero won't be making films anymore, you know? So we've got to get people making homages and people getting ready to fill that gap at some point and things of that nature. But speaking of budgets, by the way, and Dead Snow,
Yeah.
the first movie probably cost $6 to make. And somebody had a bunch of Nazi
Mhm.
memorabilia and they pulled it out of their grandpa's basement, and they made that movie. Because you could tell by the chainsaw in that movie is worse than mine. So I know how much of a piece of crap my chainsaw is. So I'm surprised it
Mhm.
isn't battery powered. The chainsaw. So the second movie though has got a budget.
Yeah.
The second movie actually they spent some money on. What do you think they spent?
300? I'd
Prosthetics
go with
alone.
300,000. 300,000 for that time?
300,000
2014.
for the second movie? I think more. I think
Yep.
Oh, 2014 Dead Snow 2 came out. Oh wow. 300,000 in 2014.
Easel.
I'm guessing $1 million. I
Mhm.
mean, they've got to pay that actor too, Martin. It's got to be 5 to
Yeah,
15
I'm
million
looking.
is my guess. We're gonna find
I'm
out
looking.
soon. Somebody's
You
looking
make
at
up a
his
good
phone over
point,
here.
but I think it was right after he was in Knocked Up. I don't know. Maybe 500,000 I'll go up. I'll go up 200,000. I'm just thinking the time period,
500.
the
He's going
amount of the
500.
budget, like definitely over $1 million now, I would think.
Or
Possibly could be that there.
who
Well, not
could
in today's
do
money. What do you
Norwegian
think,
to
John?
US
What is?
dollars? Because I found the Norwegian dollars.
I think
Oh God. I mean, I could do that too. How much is it in
35
Norwegian
million.
groupies or whatever they're called? Ooh. All right. 35 million. 35 million. So 1 Norwegian krone, 35 million. 35. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Translates into, it's not that big of a difference. It's
Okay.
3 million,
Okay.
roughly 3 million US dollars in 2014. So I was over with
Yep.
5 to 15. And that's for Dead Snow 2. Sorry, my face
because
is
of the
right here.
tank.
I had to get close to type on the lappy toppy. That's not too bad. I thought it would be more, but 2014, so in today's
No,
dollars, but we're not going to
today's
play
is
that
about
game.
$1 million.
We're not
Mm.
going to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah. About $1 trillion. I mean, how much do you think they paid that actor? They didn't
He
even pay him
didn't
$1
get
million.
he didn't get that much.
He
He
didn't
grew
even
his
make $1 million
beard.
for
He had to
Knocked
grow his
Up,
beard for a
probably.
year. Just cameo scenes.
Yeah. That's brutal. He was in the spin-off series too, wasn't he, on HBO? The hacker one or whatever, the IT guys.
He was.
Silicon Valley, wasn't he in that one? So he was making a little money. I mean, his
Oh,
stock
he's
went up
funny.
quite
He's
a
got
bit.
that he's like that deadpan humor type deal. As TJ Miller is like losing his shit on the side,
Yeah.
which I appreciate though.
Yeah. I like TJ Miller a lot. If you haven't heard him tell about his seizure story, and then it's on This Is Not Happening. You can find it pretty easily. It's pretty good. And yeah, TJ Miller is TJ Miller. It's entertaining to watch. Let's get TJ Miller in not Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead. Then
I
we've
see
got
him in
ourselves
Dead
a
Snow
film.
3. I mean, they're gonna have a zombie Hitler supposedly. That's the
Yeah.
rumor.
We knew that it was going there. Did we get Zombie Stalin
That's-
yet? Because that's got to be who do you get to take out
Zombie
Zombie
Stalin,
Hitler?
Zombie Churchill, and Zombie
Yep.
Roosevelt.
It dawned on me as you were beginning to speak, and I
But
was
then
like,
you
"Oh,
have
this has potential."
you have Zombie Mussolini
to go
coming from
way
the
up.
background. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I had to mention.
Yeah, throw
just so
Zombie
everybody can make
Hirohito
fun of
in
him.
there too. Just make it the whole thing.
Yes.
That's a long journey to dig up
ironically,
Hirohito.
Workola, doing research on it, he went into like World War II history, and this is very history accurate. I like at least the background for why the Nazis are with the gold and everything. There's a nice little background to it. It's based on supposedly true events during that time. Them becoming zombies, not true though. Just
We think that's not true.
You don't know that.
I'm not going
What
up
are
in
they
those
doing down in the
mountains.
South Pole, man?
Damn, I don't know.
You don't know what's happening in the South Pole right now. The drones over New Jersey, it's all connected, Ryan.
Yep.
Does it?
Yep.
Zombie gold.
Herzog will
fueling
come out of
dark
nowhere.
economy.
It's a mechanical.
I just want to hear his voice. I want Herzog's voice to be my alarm clock in the morning. Every time you mention his name, I just hear him in my head. I can't imitate him, and I want to so badly. It's the most harrowing voice I've ever heard come out of a human. Werner Herzog. He should be part of some of this too.
No
He would
way.
never,
No.
though. Would he?
Yeah.
Not a chance. He takes himself too seriously. He was in a Jack Reacher movie, though. So he can't. He can get off
Listen,
his
don't
high
get me
horse a
started
little
on
bit
the
if he's
Jack
in the
Reacher
Jack
movie.
Reacher
The
film.
show,
That's
the
shit
show's
ever.
better.
So
The show is decent. Movies are the most miscast garbage ever. The characters like 6'4", 6'5", and jacked. Well, here's Tom Cruise. 5-0.
yeah, here's Tom Cruise, but it's sold tickets. Sold tickets. That's true, though. The show is okay. The show's got chops. That came out. Night Agent
That's
also
That's coming out
pulls
with
on
second
that
season.
a little bit, but whatever.
Night
I'm more
Agent,
amped about.
It just got announced.
Is it?
Reacher's getting the third
I'm sure
season.
it
I
is.
mean, it's doable. Exactly. You's
thirst
getting a
trap
fourth
shows.
season. Come on, everyone
oil
wants to
rub
see that
tails.
carbon copy of Dexter on Netflix. Come on now. Sorry, not to throw that on there.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's a good
That's
show,
true.
but it's Dexter for women. I'll say it.
Was it?
I will say it.
Wait. Wasn't Dexter for women?
A little, yes,
little
when he's
bit,
squeezing the
yeah.
orange and all that, and that close up, yes,
Alright.
flipping those pancakes,
Yeah.
putting on the button down.
Women are obsessed with not just bad boys, but women are obsessed with downright animals when it comes to stuff like that. I'm looking at my wife right now because this is hitting hard. Like Dexter, ladies loving serial killers. Like, oh, it's a teenage girl. She's going through her bad boy phase. It's not a phase. They need help. They need people to help them stay away from serial killers. Dexter season 1, 2, 4, 5. Trinity was a whole different animal.
Original
oh
Sin's
my
coming
God.
out.
It's true. You guys
The
are
high school years.
original sin.
It's like the Carrie Diaries, but more
Wow.
death.
Uh,
That's how that's going.
So, predictions for Dead Snow 3. We've got Churchill FDR zombie, Stalin zombie coming to take down Hitler zombie, which would be pretty phenomenal. Not gonna lie. And I mean, that would tie up the last 45 minutes to an hour of the movie right there. Just
Yep.
getting them
Zombie World
reanimating
War
them.
III. Just
Zombie World War 3. That'd be pretty sweet too. When is
No date at
Dead
the
Snow
moment.
3 supposed
It's
to come out?
mostly just rumors and pre-production, maybe.
yeah.
No. Well,
Mhm.
just having 1 and 2 is enough of a treat, to be honest. We're getting greedy, hoping for 3. But when Dead Snow 3 does drop, it's gonna be enormous. It's gonna break the bank. I'm guessing they're gonna spend 4 trillion Norwegian rolls on it, and
No
it'll be the
lines,
best movie we've ever seen.
just groaning.
So, what was your
My
favorite
favorite
moment in Dead
from
Snow
Dead
2,
Snow
Ryan?
2. And when Martin, he's unchained by Bobby, and the arm just kind of goes out of control and hits Bobby out the window. And Martin, feeling so bad, tries to rescue Bobby by giving him CPR and crushes his chest in. I was horrified, but laughing hysterically at the same time. I just love that scene. It's really one of the go-tos for Dead Snow for the scenes wise.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You're not gonna beat the old lady getting stomped out
After she gets thrown,
for
that's
me.
after she gets thrown
You're
down.
not gonna beat it. Well, it's also
She's just like,
yeah, it's true. Well, she's trying to
No,
wheel
she's getting
herself
pushed.
away.
she's getting.
I'm talking the wheelchair
Oh
lady.
wait, are you talking about
Oh,
the
she's getting
second one
pushed?
or the
Oh,
first
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Because the second
maybe I
one, she's
messed it
getting
up.
pushed, and the girl runs
Yeah,
away, and
the
she
second one.
falls, and the zombie's just like, "Crud."
And then she falls. Yeah, and he just stomps on her head and crushes it. It crushes like a freaking cantaloupe, and I just died laughing. I was like, "This is the best part of the movie by far."
Though mine
Just
is like that
done.
whole scene, first town that they really attack, and they come in with the tank and they crush the kids in the sandbox, and then they're in those people's bathroom while the wife's taking a bath and the guy's taking a dump. First off, who does the same time? Is that like a cultural thing I'm not aware of? Who?
No,
has-
there are animals who do
No.
that here
It has to
too.
be
I've talked to
separate.
people
No.
like that.
Separate.
No.
No, not a chance. I don't want to
No.
smell hers. I
No,
don't
you
want her to
can't.
smell
You
mine.
can't
That's
do
the end
that.
of it. That's the conversation.
That's not the way that's supposed to
There's
work.
also a nonchalant line in there saying about, well, I think it's
No.
the guests. Are the guests welcome to come join them as well? I'm just saying on that. They're like, yeah, the guests are here.
Oh yeah.
Are they joining you while you're taking a dump and taking a bath?
You know what's also amazing about that scene though? The camera mounting on the ceiling, the top-down view. They had some good
Mhm.
camera work in that second movie. Like what I'm talking about, how it's upgraded quite a bit. There's some artistic license taken and stuff like that. They do a
Mhm.
really good job with their budget.
My runner-up scene is perfect.
He fills the guy with hay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good stuff.
He
That's
like
good
loads
stuff.
him up with hay, and he's just piling hay on him,
Mhm.
and then staples. He gets like the compressor thing for the truck. He's like, "Kunk, kunk," and it's like, what? That's really gonna help, man. A good effort.
Yeah.
To
Turn him into a
feel-
scarecrow.
Oh, that's actually
That's the
funny.
best
Actually,
part.
the irony if he only had a brain because he's a zombie, he's looking for brains. Oh.
There you go. So I
there
also
you go.
no. I don't
I
think
don't know
it
if
was
it's
an
that smart, though.
intended reference, but it works.
No, it's not.
So I want to point out though that Stavrin, the head Soviet zombie, that's Derek Mears. So if you've paid attention to horror, Derek Mears has played Jason in the Friday remake. He's been the Predator.
Okay.
He's been Swamp Thing.
Ah.
He's been Krampus.
Okay.
He's like just the go-to monster guy. So he's really perfect in that.
You know what? Was he the guy they brought in when Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't
No,
work
that was a
out as the
different dude.
Predator?
But he was in, I forget, I think the most recent Predator, he was the Predator. Like
Oh, Prey.
Predators. No, not, sorry, I forgot about Prey. Predators.
Oh, Prey.
Okay, that
Believe that
holds
was
up.
him.
Cool.
Derek
It's cool as hell. His
Mears.
name's Derek Mears for people. If you want to
He's
look
the
up his
one with the long
IMDb.
red beard. The one he comes out of nowhere. He's like all like stern. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna bust some Nazi heads. That's the guy, right?
Yes. Yep, that guy.
Okay. He had the he had the movement of a Jason.
Cool,
I was
man.
watching it and stuff. He was moving like a killer. I was like, all right.
Okay. So let's wrap up for everybody. We're getting along here. What's the top 5 zombie alternative movies or alternative zombie movies you guys would recommend?
Go ahead, Ryan. You can go first this time.
All right. I would recommend from 5 down, Shaun of the Dead at number 5. Love that movie. Nice little comedy. Nice homage to George
Quality.
Romero. Number 4, Return of the Living Dead. Love that movie, the zaniness and the horror and stuff.
Now my last three picks are from the Great Mind. Now my father of the zombie film are from George A. and father of the Zombie film. My third pick would be Dawn of the Dead. It is important within the zombie genre and the most famous for the idea of the zombie survivor, trapped and the most famous for the idea of the survivor, trapped and eventually trying to of course survive. And eventually, I saw this later on in life, but I loved it. I saw this later on in life, but I loved it for the characters which are featured. My second pick when the characters were featured. My second first zombie film I ever watched, and I was hooked. It was the first zombie film I ever watched, overtaking the world, people trapped underground, and crazy scientists, people trapped underground, and crazy scientists. It's a movie all horror fan once again. Plus the opening scene coming to the wall. Plus the opening was stuck in the rest of my life. Last but not least, my first pick is Night of the Living Dead. Last but not least, my film that started the genre, and the best film that started the zombie genre, horror and the best throughout the story via the characters, horror show not only throughout the stories via the character horror which people around you.
All right, so my list I did differently. There's no Romero on here because if I did a top 5 zombie movies and included Romero, it would be all
That's
Romero.
fair. It would be all Romero.
And I left out a lot of the other
Fair.
bigger ones like No Return, no Shaun of the Living Dead, none of those. I went a little more obscure. So at number 5, I went with One Cut of the Dead, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an Asian movie. It's shot in one cut. And it's just them making a zombie movie.
Oh, cool.
That turns into real zombies. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, actually. That sounds
One Cut
good.
of
What's
the
the name
Dead.
of that
Awesome.
again? One Cut of the Dead. All right, cool. I gotta watch
4
that.
is Zombies Destruction. Came out at the same time as Dead. It's a little cuter, but it's got a lot of the commitments that really work for this genre sometimes. Number 3 is The Battery, which is really just 2 minor league baseball players traveling around in a car trying to survive. Next is 2 is Zombie for Sale, which is another Asian one. It's just bonkers. Asian zombie movies are always bonkers.
Yeah, they're always crazy, the Asian zombie films.
And then my number 1 is Cuban. It feels very Cuban, very sort of cut off from everything. It's Juan of the Dead.
Somebody should get sued for
It's
that.
amazing.
Someone should.
That's ridiculous. Juan of the Dead. Oh my God. Amazing is a word. Amazing is a word. Nice. All right. I was trying to think of something that you guys might have left out, but yours are so off my radar, John. And the ones you chose, Ryan, are awesome. I can't think of anything that fits in the mold, especially after disparaging fast zombies for an hour. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed our Dead Snow episode, Dead Snow 1 and 2. Hopefully they make it Dead Snow 3. Guys, have anything you want to say to the listeners?
watch some horror. Have fun.
Adios.
Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you next time.